We now move directly into a discussion on how trust can be designed into the digital ecosystem itself. Our final morning panel is Digital Trust by Design, Data Privacy, Platforms, and Policy in the AI Era. As artificial intelligence becomes embedded in services, platforms, and everyday decision, trust cannot simply be just an afterthought. This discussion will explore data privacy, platform governance, responsible AI, cybersecurity, and the shared responsibilities of policymakers, telecommunication leaders, and technology companies in building safer digital ecosystems. Moderating the session is Moustafa Khater, an innovation and business leader with experience across Shell, Flat 6 Labs, the Greek campus, and DigiSay Group. He is joined by Soha, Rizk, Chief Technology Officer for Cisco Africa, and Mohanad Bahr, a judge and researcher in AI policy and law. So please welcome our panelists and moderator to the stage.
Hello. Good day, everyone. I think almost good afternoon. Today, our session is going to be very excitingly about trust and how trust is built and how trust is operated in the corporate governance schedules. But first and foremost, let me introduce to you our panelists. First, we have Soha Rizk. Soha Rizk is a technologist at Cisco. She has a lot of work that is in the systems, networks, and architectures. And before we can trust AI, we have to trust infrastructures that are AI dependent. Welcome, Soha. We have with us as well Mohanad Bahr. Mohanad Bahr is, interestingly, a judge and a researcher as well as a PhD candidate specializing in AI law. What a field. And his work examines how legal systems, human rights, and public policies interact together to develop AI. And because building technology is one challenge and deciding how society should live with it and us another, I'd like to welcome Mohanad to the discussion. So today, every company, every service, every value proposition is very much technology dependent. And in that realm, we can see that trust is a word that is very much overused. It's used by everyone. Everybody claims to have the best trust. Everybody claims to have the best systems, the most operable as well as the most defensive systems. How would you classify the state of trust in the world today? I'd like to start with you, sir.
Definitely, we are in a transition phase. First of all, thanks. I'm delighted to be in this diversified panel. It's very interesting to be amongst a creator and a judge and coming from the technology field myself. So trust is definitely something that all entities need to work on mutually. But right now, it's a very transitional phase for trust, simply because people don't really know the limit of AI. Where exactly can it end? Whenever we had a technology boom, be it with internet, be it with digitization, we knew more or less the end product, where we're going.
But if somebody stopped you in an elevator, for example, and said,
what is
so
trust?
what actually is digital trust? I mean, what's the one-liner that really explains what digital trust is?
There is the formal explanation, and then there is the simplest one that I'll start with. And I'll probably mix Arabic and English. I don't see a lot of Americans. But digital trust, زي ما كنتوا بالظبط بتحطوا الصور بتاعتكم في ألبوم صور وبعدين ابتديتوا تحطوه في جوجل درايف مثلا ولا في الاي كلاود بتاعت ايفون. This is the start of يعني the simplest way to say digital trust. إنه أنا كنت بحطها الصور دي في حضني في ألبوم بتاعي and then now I'm putting it on a cloud somewhere and I have to trust what they're doing with my pictures. Formally speaking, digital trust is how I can ensure security and reliability. And I have the right security, right reliability زي ما قلنا in your intro. If I don't have the right infrastructure أصلاً and if it's failing, then no need for the trust. So secure and resilient. Second is transparency. You need to tell me where you're putting my data, what data are you storing, for how long, not just where as in cloud, no, which locations, how long do you retain it, how do you delete it when you need to delete it, so transparency. And third, accountability. Accountability means throughout the data life cycle, that is the part where you are responsible for my data integrity. You don't manipulate my data. You took it from me. This is my intellect. I need to trust that you are keeping and maintaining the integrity of this data.
How would your definition be different, Mohanad?
Well, well, trust, it's a very interesting word. And it's not just a word, it's not just a process, it's not just a thing that you can describe, but it's many things that come together and it can be called the trust. And the trust, you can read about it in religion, you can read about it in business, you can read about it in law, and each one of them, they actually define trust in a different way. But I would tell you trust, it must have two actors and one state. So two actors, you have trustor, you have trustee. And then you have a state of vulnerability. So for instance, when you start to work or you start to buy a special product, you put your trust in this product because you know the quality of this product, how much it could be. And then when you go to buy it, you are 100% sure that this product will give you the value that you are looking forward to. But trust, when it came to the digital platforms, it's a different thing. When you go to any kind of news aggregator and you start to read the news, you need to put your trust in this news aggregator or the platform that the information you are receiving, it doesn't have any kind of misinformation or disinformation. So in this way, trust here, it can be identified to what extent you believe in the service you are receiving. And also when it comes to buy any kind of product through e-commerce platform, and you started to use your credit card, to what extent you understand the protection you are receiving regarding your vulnerable data, because it could be hacked, it could be stolen, it could be anything else. But at the same time, it's not just about two actors. It's not about what kind of action you are doing. It's a process as well. You could go, for instance, to read a newspaper, and you find that newspaper is providing disinformed data. You would go to the legal process to file a lawsuit, because the law here is protecting the principle of trust in this whole process. So the definition of trust, it cannot be binary thing. It cannot be one linear thing that says this is trust. Trust has been, since 2017, lots of writers and authors, they were trying to put together a unified definition for trust. The same thing like AI. You have so many different definitions of AI, but you don't have a unified one so far.
But what I hear you saying is trust cannot exist without accountability.
Definitely.
Definitely. Okay, so let's take the AI case now, for example. I mean, we have this new baby AI. It dreams, it hallucinates, and it also creates a hell of a very smart and genius outputs that are almost like the mean average of all humans when you put all data together. So it's a very fascinating new invention by humanity. And we know it's hallucinating, and we know it makes mistakes. So how should we look at it? I mean, it's not human. It's also not a bacteria. It's a new thing. How would you see humans being accountable for something that they are only really fleshing its value by setting it free?
This is a very interesting thing. Let me share with you a kind of personal story that happened with me once before. So there was one of my neighbors, and it seems like he wanted to save the fees for some lawyers to ask some legal advice. And they were just asking me a simple legal question. And then I provided my answer because it was pretty simple. But at the same time, I saw their facial expression was actually changing, and I was saying, what's wrong? He told me, you know, ChatGPT is giving some kind of different answer than you. So the guy just have some kind of, like, he started to distrust me, you know, like, even though with that information I have regarding the simple legal question. So I was very curious to read this provided output from ChatGPT, and I read it. It put it in a very authoritative way. Like, you can find that it was just a judge in the international justice court was writing this legal reasoning. But actually, it was a very fabricated one. It was very wrong. So trust when it comes to AI, it's a very controversial topic because you still cannot put accountability to this technology itself, because it's still technology that cannot be treated as humans. But at the same time, you would ask yourself a question. When it comes to the developer who got participated in the developing of this technology, who should be held accountable here? So this is still a question that are being debated between scholars in general and also regulators. But however, because law is still trying to cope up with this technology, there are some kind of measurements and the process that we're trying to put together in terms of regulation, and we do have some different regulations that is happening right now in the world. They were trying to put it together to make sure that this technology can be trusted in order to be promoted. Because currently law is thinking about, okay, if we would like to increase the uptake of technology among the public, we need to increase their trust in this technology. How we can do this? We can just try to make developers publish the training data, or we can have what is called the data governance framework, so we can be sure that you have the best quality of data. You trained the data, it went through different types of validation, testing, whatsoever, you know, so that we can ensure that any kind of information you receive at the end of the day, it can be trusted. However, at the same time, you still have to have human in the loop and to have the process of monitoring the output of this technology that comes in general in order to mitigate any kind of risk or distrust that can happen in the future. So trust, it's still a thing that is being studied in the field.
Thank you. I'm going to put an example for here that I would also like Soha to speak to in representation of technology, the world of technology. Let's say, for example, we have two humans who are using AI differently. One is using it on auto mode. They are willing to accept the mistakes that happen versus the value that it might have as a surplus. The other one is very distrusting to the technology. It knows that on average 20% it will hallucinate, 20% it will create something that is overly too misunderstood from the world, not its time. 20% will be extremely smart, 20% would be a very stupid output, and 20% is just normal average human thinking. Okay? Those are the 5 chapters, the 5 20 percentiles that are in the equation. And both humans are using it differently, exercising their personal freedom of using tech. Now, from a regulatory perspective, we heard Mohanad, but from a technology perspective, how do you see technology companies thinking about the error assurance factor? I mean, if there's errors and then on the other side there's assurances, where do you draw the line? Where does it become exciting for technology companies to exercise this technology, and when is it not ready yet? How do you guys think about tech readiness when it comes to trust?
So here, when we think about it as technology provider, we think about it for ourselves and how it makes our lives easier when it comes to different examples of operations, productivity, and so on. But we also think of the enterprises we're providing the service to. And there is a big difference when you're talking a human being sitting at his own home, at his own discretion, deciding to use ChatGPT, Gemini, whatever, at whatever limit with his own data and his own freedom. But when you come to enterprises, it's a completely different story, because first you have to provide a reliable service. Second, it can be healthcare, education, whatever, energy. And second, you already own, as an enterprise, users' data that you are not fully entitled to do whatever with. So the story is different when we are thinking about the enterprises, the governments, the defense even, different service providers.
Yeah, but at a certain stage, there was always a human involved. Let's say, for example, an Excel sheet, just on Microsoft, sitting there, and you're using it. It's not usable without a human. This is what we are used to.
And this is what I'm going to.
Yeah.
We still need the humans. So for instance, when I said that we use AI to ease our own operations, and so we have agentic AIs, what does it mean? That we have different agents doing different things and easing our operations for ourselves, because we're dealing with a huge amount of data, and it's only increasing, and it's only going to increase even further. We need the data because it gives us more telemetry and more visibility. So more data is good because it gives you more granularity. And you are also dealing with the threat of security breaches. So with all that in mind, we actually need AI to ease our lives when it comes to operations, when it comes to security type. Do we need it all alone? Do we use AI all alone to ease the operations, to look at the security, to look at the encrypted traffic and look if there is a breach? You need the human eye.
Yeah, but there's a big issue here, which is up to which level? So an Excel sheet provided by an original software developer is one thing. It's fully incompatible. You know the code of it, you know how it thinks, you know how it operates, and it's very linear.
Yes.
But we live in a very asymmetric kind of coding where the coders nowadays, we don't know who they are, and what is being coded, we don't understand what it is.
You need to treat the agents as if they are exactly human beings and give them the same rules and give the owner the same visibility. And that's exactly what you're doing.
Which brings me to a very important question today to both of you. Where does technology find the wall and human behavior still supersedes? And how much technology can we build into trust?
I'll just add to what I was saying is that there is a framework that we all need to work with. And this framework has to have 6 pillars that we all need to follow. There is the transparency, the fairness, which is also important, accountability, like we said. There is the privacy, and there are rules, and there have always been rules, because even with humans, you get breaches, you can hallucinate and make mistakes. But now, as you said, we don't know the limits of that. It can be completely creative, or it can be completely hallucinating with the agents of AI.
No, and also you don't know the parameters of what you're looking at. So for example, if you are looking at any of the models, let's not specify the model specifically, not a large language model or video generation model or any of the other models, but if you are using a specific model, you don't know what's being integrated or self-integrated in that model anymore. And you don't know the process upon which certain answers, you cannot trace back. See, if you had a bug in a previous software, you would be able to go in, identify the bug, and fix it. But today, you don't have access to that anymore.
There are tools.
There are tools.
There are tools.
But how much can you trust these tools versus the super intelligence that we are reaching?
So I'm going to pass to Judge Mohanad, but it's not one thing. So it cannot be technology alone. It cannot be the framework alone. It cannot be the regulatory alone. So there is the regulatory that comes from the country, the service provider, the framework, the privacy and regulatory that we all need to follow as a community. Then there is the fact that we have the framework that every company needs to do for themselves, which we have for ourselves. And as I said, there are 6 pillars, including the ones that I didn't say were privacy, security, and reliability, with the transparency, fairness, and accountability. So this framework is everyone for himself.
So this framework is for companies to be on the roadmap for the endeavor of reaching trust.
Exactly. So we have one that very much governs as users, not as technology providers, very much governs which customer data I use, where do I put it, which language model do I give it to, what are the boundaries of my utilization, including the fairness and so on. And then the third factor would be the technology itself, providing the security, the right infrastructure, and the right visibility and observability. So it's a combination of three elements. Like one of the points is cybersecurity, regulatory, privacy. Are they in separate silos? No, they're very much intertwined in this AI era where we're in. So it really needs to be the community, the country or the community, the framework of the user or the company using the AI, and the technology that is providing the right infrastructure and right visibility.
Okay, let me direct this back to Mohanad and say, okay, so let's say the private sector, the government sector, and the various sectors are on a journey. They are on a journey to reach trust. They know privately they cannot reach it. Can regulators guarantee trust?
Regulators, they cannot guarantee trust. And for that reason, regulators, they have been trying to deal pretty hard with not just identifying trust, but finding the framework that Soha was saying about trust. And with this technology, it has brought us to the fact that trust is something that cannot be built by just one hand, not just by regulators, not just by developers, but the public participation of stakeholders, users, and so on in the whole process of the technology. I don't think like regulators you would be able to develop the concept of trust in a technology that it still has its what is called the black box, that the developer still cannot understand how come the trace between the outputs and inputs. However, when you read the language of some of the frameworks or one of these established frameworks in the regulatory concept right now, they were trying to create this kind of traceability through what is called the log registration or automatic log recorder, so that you would be able to trace back the outputs through the inputs. But it's still very difficult, very hard to put these kind of concepts into technical language that can be identified and that can be actually implemented. Like when you read, for instance, one of the most best documents that I have ever read in regards of the governance, the high-level expert group of AI technology that was formed by the European Commission, I actually liked it because it agreed with the OECD, and they were managed to put the 7 principles that Dr. Soha just said about the principles that can be actually implemented in this technology so that we can develop trust at the end of the day.
Yeah, but if you have unlimited power,
yes.
would you get yourself more technology or more regulation?
More technology or more regulation?
Yes.
Well, I
You
wouldn't.
have unlimited
I
power.
wouldn't say more regulation, because the more regulation you have, the more impracticability you have. The more regulation you have, the more you will not be able to lead innovation in the field. I would say I need better regulation. I would rather to have one overarching regulation that actually simplify the rules, streamline the rules, because also developers, they need to have a framework to get to know what limit they have to work on and what kind of accountability they need to hold themselves for. For that reason, having better regulation, I think it would be the key word that would lead to trust and would lead to innovation, because both of them are interrelated.
But I mean, today's session has also the part in it which is by design. So by design means there's always an endeavor to kind of like reach this perfection state of a regulation where people can really trade and operate under and develop technologically without the worries that we have today. However, with more technology comes more black boxes and comes more new eras and new areas where humans are developing, and they want to be developing in a very competitive format. And competition is becoming extremely fierce. And you can tell us more about that, Soha. But how do you manage between fierce competitiveness and light regulations nowadays that allow a little bit more of that kind of freedom, that do not look like they are going to be staying for long? How does the business think about technology development when they look at how lawmakers are walking today? How does that curve look like?
So I like Judge Mohanad's answer simply because you said or better technology. Technology is not going to stop. And if it stops here, it's not going to stop elsewhere. And so you're just losing competitiveness, and you're losing innovation, and you're losing productivity, and so on. So being probably, since we're working across the whole world, and me personally working across the whole of Africa, it's not about you need to respect the regulations and the frameworks that are put within every country. And this is why when I said every company needs to have their own framework, AI framework, ethical framework, because it needs to fit with whatever market you're working with, and whoever creative mindset you're working with, and whatever intellect you're working with, and also whatever breaches and frauds and hackers you're working with. So the framework is very important in that sense, because you don't know exactly every day who you're working with. It can be that you're working here within Egypt, but you're having a creative mindset that is coming from outside, and you don't want to lose this advancement type. Looking at the different regulatories across the world, and modestly and humbly saying that, yes, if you look at the main acts that are happening across the world, we see that there can be a balance. That we can strike the right balance between the regulatory and the creativity of AI, and how much it can help the community. It's not about stopping, it's not about slowing down, and it's not about just putting boundaries. It's about understanding how to evolve existing privacy and existing regulatories to the right pace. We've always had regulatories and audits to look at the user data, to look at the financial data, to look at the medical data, the legal data. It's now a matter of taking the same privacy framework and evolve with it. It needs investment. So you don't just, it's not about sitting together and putting more rules. It's about also investing in those privacy proceedings. And we've done a study that is available on our trust portal, free and open for everyone, benchmark study for 26, where we have queried across the whole world, across different 26 industries, including government, healthcare, entertainment and media, education, energy. And everyone is seeing that it's within the coming 2 years, we're talking about 93% of those people within the coming 2 years will invest in the privacy. So when we say trust, it means, again, you have to have the right infrastructure, you have to have the right means, the right tools, because otherwise there is no creativity. This LLM that you're using is a tool, but it needs underneath the resources, because if you decide to do it in a private way, for the defense, for instance, for a government, for a bank, then they need the resources underneath. There is no Meta or Google or those providers, so you need the infrastructure. You need the right privacy tools to make sure that, and they exist, and there is there are many markets that are striking the right balance. And then as we said, the framework that balances it all. But like it has always been with technology, and now a little bit more, there will be mistakes. It's also how you recover from those mistakes. Recovery is very important, and this is how we provide our security solution. It's not nothing will happen. Things will happen. But how do you recover, and how do you recover fast and with the least losses? It's not zero.
I have prepared a few questions that are very flashy, yeah? So I'm going to direct them at both of you. It's the same question, but it's kind of like a one-word answer or like a flash answer. Like, don't finish a sentence. And then I'm also going to come back to the audience, because I actually want to know from you as well, guys. So here's the first question, yeah? Are we living in the most overrated phase of AI? Just by show of hands, who believes we're living in a little bit of a more exaggerated era of AI? Okay, so that's like maybe 25% of the room. Let's direct the question to you guys. Are we living in an overrated era? People, is this too much drama? This is not really so dangerous. This is like, it's just gonna be like the beginning of crypto?
From my own perspective, I think we are still living in the initial phase of the technology.
So initial phase. Soha? Initial phase, okay. The second question. What is the most underrated issue? What's a big issue that's really lurking in the background, nobody's really paying attention to? One word.
AI literacy. It's not, nobody
AI
focus on
literacy,
it.
okay.
Skills, yes. Skills.
AI skills.
We need, but people think that we don't need the skills because AI will replace. We need actually more skills and more specialized skills.
Yeah. To the audience here, anybody wants to speak to that? What do you think is the most underrated AI issue that's not really being discussed in most rooms? No? Yeah, please. Deployment and usability? Deployment and usability. Thank you. Next question. Biggest risk?
Okay, so this is also my own perspective. Anthropomorphizing AI, treating AI as a person. We started to see so many cases in terms of mental health use case where actually users, they were treating AI as a person, and even they started to develop some kind of relationship with it. This is one of the biggest risks I have started to see.
Definitely, the attackers, they're becoming, so they originally were the fraud attackers and the technology, I mean, from information point of view, still a very big risk because they're becoming more and more powerful.
So I hear risk on your side is the sick involvements with AI in a way that could have psychological remedies. And on your side is fraud. So fraud and the wrong kind of engagements that could harm humans, so harmful human interfacing. Yeah? Okay. What do you think is the biggest opportunity? One word.
Imagine growing an emerging technology, emerging market like Egypt. And you have so many ideas, so many potential, and so many areas and fields to invest in. Imagine that if you give the right data to the right AI model to give you the right decision, or help you, not give you, help you with the right decision to where put the best investment and the best area of economical growth that is really looking at all the factors, local and external. So because AI is only better by the input you give it and the prompt you ask it and the premise that you create for it. So if Egypt, and I use Egypt because we're here, are able to use AI to really prioritize the most important applications and economical expenditures and focus, this will save us a lot of time instead of experimenting through different projects.
Okay, so I want to note a few.
This is my own personal view, by the way.
Yeah, no, and I really appreciate it. So what I hear you saying is, if we focus on true AI literacy during this time, we might leap from previous literacies that we missed on. Would that be an output of?
You can create a leap, exactly.
You can create a leap by adopting AI literacy as a priority in Egypt. That would be one of the ways to save time and come more at the forefront of AI leadership. Okay, all right. Most misunderstood regulation. To you, the Akid Yamal. Most misunderstood regulation.
Okay, I think the EU AI Act is the most misunderstood regulation.
And what is misunderstood about? Can you explain it a bit? Maybe some of the people in the audience are not aware of it. What is it? What does it entail? And what are the risks around it?
Well, the EU AI Act, I think it shoehorns itself in some legal concept that it protects human rights and it protects fundamental rights. However, reading the language of the EU AI Act, it doesn't come near the fundamental rights. It's just a kind of regulation framework that seeks to harmonize rules across the European countries and EU members. And why? Because it was just want to have some kind of equitable level of fairness. However, when you read the policy underlying the EU AI Act, you will realize that it has a huge amount of lobbying, a huge amount of negotiation to just to push to come to the enactment of this EU regulation. It doesn't treat the AI as a technology. It still treats AI as a product that you can hold in your hand. And this is also my own perspective, because there might be some other scholars or regulars that could actually disagree with me. I do find that having a specific sector regulation, it could have the chance to work much better than just having overarching or horizontal regulation, such as the EU AI Act, because currently, let's look at Europe, what's going on. They started to revise the EU AI Act from the beginning. And I know that lately they have issued some of the modifications to the EU AI Act, but it's still, I think that this was one of the misunderstood regulations.
Are they using AI while they're doing this?
I guess yes. Yeah, but no, I don't think like they are using the act for drafting the regulation, maybe for just some brainstorming. I'm just
okay,
kidding.
maybe this is a good segue to our closing of the session with the final question to both of you. We are in the year 2035, and but so many decisions will happen from now until then. But what is the decision today that, if taken or taken wrongly, or what is that decision that will either bring humans to, it's becoming, for AI to become humans or humanity's biggest accelerator, so to say, or its biggest nemesis? So what is the decision today that you see so critical that humanity has not taken yet, but you are very excited about a certain direction that will be taken, whether on the regulatory side or on the technology side?
So you can see the questions are not scripted, so really it's at the spur of the moment. Again, my own personal view, I would say localization. Every community knows what's best for them. And localization means that I use the best of the technology, and it's good that there is some advancement elsewhere, so we can start off where they ended, and really localize. Trust the talents that we have. Trust that we can have the right regulatory without too much no's and too much restrictions. And trust that the more localized we can apply the technology, the better it can be for each community and each market. We cannot just keep running after, with all due respect, after all the Claude Geminis and so on. It's good, we need them and everything. But think of what we can do with those tools, but more localized and every community to themselves. That's one thing. Another thing is stop thinking AI will take everyone's job. It's exactly like the wave that happened before. It's just going to be a new set of jobs. So take the challenge, whatever age you are, and get ready.
Thank you, Soha.
Well, I would say the technology is being developed right now, and it's like the development is going on unprecedented level. And at the same time, regulations, the regulators, they are getting together. There are some forum of international cooperation to have regulation that can understand the technology much better. But at the end of the day, both of them, they target the public, the end user. And for that reason, I still think that having or streamlining some robust programs of AI literacy in schools, in private sectors, in public sectors, it's really important so that the users can understand in what circumstances they can challenge the output, they can endorse the output, or what sources they have to go, and to make difference between what kind of AI tool or AI technology in general they have to use and in which use case. Because having AI in judiciary, it's another different story than having AI in medicine, in public health, in manufacture, or anything else. For that reason, you need to have a specific and customized AI literacy programs for each specific profession. I like what happened in Saudi Arabia. They have streamlined AI literacy programs in primary schools. This is great. At least you are trying to introduce this new generation about how AI works. And I'm sure that those kind of generation, what is called, they are native technology generations, they understand it much better, but we still have to unlock this level of challenging the outputs of AI. If me as an end user, I still have no idea what kind of data the tool I'm using has been developed on. So AI literacy, I think it would be the keyword of any future decision I might take.
Well, I think we are running out of time. I would like to thank you for your time today. Thank you for being with us. Thank you there. And I think we definitely have some other side discussions of the panel. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.